Welcome to Fraudulent Fortune. In this episode, we investigate the 2001 implosion of one of Australia's biggest insurers. We'll deep dive into what happened, the failures, and the lessons learned across the world. Let's take a closer look into HIH, the collapse that changed Australia. In March 2001, Australia witnessed a corporate collapse, unlike anything it had seen before. HIH Insurance, once one of the country's largest insurers, imploded under the weight of its own balance sheet. The final toll, $5.3 billion. But this was not merely the biggest corporate failure in Australian history, it was the most consequential. Because when HIH fell, it did not fall quietly. It fractured confidence in markets, in regulation, and in the institutions designed to protect consumers from precisely this kind of failure. The collapse sent shockwaves far beyond boardrooms and trading floors. Thousands of HIH employees lost their jobs. Tens of thousands of shareholders were left holding worthless equity. But the deepest damage was borne by people who never imagined they were exposed to corporate risk. Builders suddenly found themselves uninsured. Almost $2 billion worth of construction projects were placed on hold. Policyholders claiming on salary continuance insurance stopped receiving payments. Car accident victims insured by HIH were left waiting for surgeries, for rehabilitation, for compensation, with claims worth $190 million frozen in limbo. Sporting competitions were cancelled. Community events abandoned. Professional services, from engineers to accountants, found themselves without indemnity cover. For a time, parts of everyday Australian life simply stopped. Much of the early public focus settled on a handful of names. HIH founder and chief executive Ray Williams, the dominant figure at the helm, would later be jailed. Rodney Adler, former chief executive of FAI Insurance, whose company HIH acquired in 1998. And future Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull, then managing director of Goldman Sachs, who acted as an advisor to FAI during its sale to HIH. But while personalities captured headlines, the true devastation of the HIH collapse lay elsewhere, in systems, decisions, and failures that extended far beyond any single individual. So, what went wrong at HIH? A royal commission into the collapse would later describe what it uncovered as a litany of failures. HIH had grossly underestimated its liabilities. It overestimated the value of its assets. It charged premiums that were too low, and it failed to properly provision for future claims. The board failed to effectively monitor senior management, and an aggressive expansion into the United States and the United Kingdom drained $2.4 billion. But perhaps the most critical decision, and the least understood at the time, was HIH's $295 million acquisition of FAI Insurance. FAI was already in serious financial distress. Yet astonishingly, the HIH board, dominated by Williams, conducted no due diligence on the acquisition. Williams would later describe FAI as the pollutant that poisoned the group. Goldman Sachs had advised FAI during its privatization efforts and subsequent sale. Its New York headquarters spent months assessing whether to invest before walking away, concerned about heavy losses. During the Royal Commission, questions were raised about a $20 million net asset valuation of FAI attributed to Goldman Sachs. Malcolm Turnbull strongly rejected suggestions that Goldman had valued FAI at that level, calling the claim false and damaging. The HIH liquidators alleged Turnbull knew FAI was overvalued. The Royal Commission ultimately cleared him of any wrongdoing, but the episode underscored how opaque, complex, and poorly scrutinized the transaction had been. If HIH exposed weaknesses in corporate governance, it also revealed deep flaws in regulation. The Australian Prudential Regulation Authority, APRA, had been created only years earlier, following the Wallace Inquiry. At the time HIH acquired FAI, APRA had no insurance specialists on its board and no dedicated research department. When APRA approved the takeover, one academic later said it was caught with its pants down. This reflected a broader regulatory philosophy of the era, a light-touch approach, prioritizing efficiency and competition over intervention. As one former regulator observed, the most ineffective regulators were those who relied on press releases rather than enforcement. The HIH collapse forced a reckoning. It reshaped corporate governance standards. It transformed insurance regulation. And it permanently altered how Australia balances market efficiency with systemic safety. In 2005, Ray Williams was sentenced to prison for filing false financial statements and breaching his duties as a director. He was stripped of his Order of Australia. In January 2008, he was released on parole, with media helicopters tracking his exit from Silverwater Correctional Centre. But the legacy of HIH did not end there. Premiums rose sharply. Regulatory oversight hardened. And Australia learned, at extraordinary cost, that trust in financial systems must be earned, tested, and enforced. Because when safeguards fail, the consequences are never confined to balance sheets. They ripple outward into lives, communities, and the fabric of the economy itself. This was not just a corporate collapse, it was a national lesson. This is Fraudulent Fortune. If you like this episode, please don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us online and on digital TV. Thanks for watching.